Hey everyone, welcome back to the Aurelia city in City Skylines. Today we will continue exactly where we left off last time. We will do a large expansion of the high density district in this new part of the city. Last time we did some new infrastructure, built a new public transport hub, which is going to be very important in serving this entire part of the city. Today we will build an elevated light rail stop above a nice new plaza with lots of details, lots of vertical elements. I will also use the intersection marking tool to detail a very good looking roundabout with bus stops, so let's go. We are going to start in this gap between the places that we have built in the previous episodes. Now, this block I intentionally left unfinished because I really wanted to just have a fresh episode for it, because it's going to have multiple levels. Again, it's going to have a plaza, nice looking plaza with the light rail stop. Now, this light rail stop already used to be here when I built the transfer station between the tram going to the airport and this light rail, because I needed multiple stations so I could have the trains actually going on those newly built tracks. But I decided to actually keep this stop in here because it's a very good place for it, and it's just a nice opportunity to build another light rail stop, right? This place is slightly sloped, so again, that's going to be a nice opportunity for some high density detailing, some buildings clipping through each other and stuff like that, okay? So as you can see, I'm already putting this railing in here, this border that's going to mark the edge of the second level where the tram stop is going to be, or sorry, the light rail. As you can see, there are already quite a lot of people waiting for the trains in here. That is because the stop used to be functional. I already connected it to the surface before I started doing today's project. But we're obviously going to put new paths towards that upper area. But there are going to be a lot of people using this stop because it is going to be surrounded with a lot of high density buildings, and all these people that are waiting for the light rail are going to they are going to go towards that transportation hub from the last episode, because they probably want to go back to the downtown, maybe for work, or maybe they live there, something like that. As you can see, I'm still using quite tall buildings in this block because we are right on the waterfront, basically. So I really wanted to have some fancier looking buildings in here, and this was just a nice opportunity to use some buildings that I haven't really used yet in the city. Like, for example, the Cosmopolitan building, which is very big. It's very long and tall, so it wasn't exactly fitting in some other places of the city, but for this particular area it's absolutely perfect. It also created a nice opportunity for like an elevated park or something that I'm building over here with the stairs. It's going to be the same level as the light rail, and it's just going to nicely finish this entire block. I'm also doing this other detailing around that high-rise building, so that we are just going to finish off some of these corners, because this is something that we left unfinished from all the way back to those episodes where we started building this waterfront, even that parking lot underneath the main avenue. Anyway, that's done. The main shape of this place is done, and I'm now going to do some first like rough detailing of this area. As you could have seen, I also changed this building that's basically connecting the surface to the second level. I had the office building there. It was not exactly working out. I really wanted to have something different, so I finally did this building. I'm not sure what it's called. I think this building is part of some residential project or something. It's like a commercial building. I obviously used it once over here on this corner of the plaza, and in here I used it as a procedural object because I needed to scale it slightly up so that I could fill that entire corner between the roads. And it worked perfectly because it's slightly taller than the height of the second level. Well, it's actually quite a lot taller. So it forms a very nice transition between it, and it's just looking overall very, very good. Underneath the light rail stop, I had to fill some of these gaps, so I just used some commercial buildings or offices that I'm using all the time for these special purposes, right? And then I just placed a fountain on the plaza. Anyway, the rest of the detailing, that's something that I'm going to do later, because that's going to be like some finishing touches, but I kind of wanted to take a break from that and do something else. So that block, at least in regards to buildings, is done. And I really wanted to, at this point, start thinking about expanding the city, because realistically, I will have to put a lot more of these high-density blocks in this part of the city, and it's probably a good time to, start doing that. So every time I'm going to do a video from now on, I'm probably going to do like some sort of a project that's going to be the main focus, and then I'm just going to expand some of these blocks on the side, so that we are really going to step up the expansion of the city, because like I said, this place is going to be big. It will have to have a lot of buildings, a lot of places filled with high density buildings, so that we have to start doing that already, right? So this particular block, or these couple of blocks that are closest to the waterfront, are going to have slightly taller buildings compared to the rest of these blocks, and they are going to be very, very dense. So as you can see, I'm clipping buildings together. I'm not exactly trying to be all that precise with some of the choices that I'm making with these buildings, because I'm really trying to do a lot of quantity in here. I'm not really all that concerned with detailing. I'm actually not going to detail these blocks at all. Maybe I'm going to put like trees in some of these blocks inside of them or something, some of the corners maybe. But otherwise, I really just want to slap some high density blocks in here and really expand the city with them. I can safely say that that's going to be also in the next episode, where we are going to continue this very part of the map, and in some coming episodes as well, because I really, really want to do this quantity in here, because that's just going to look much, much better. I think it's a similar story with Altengrad. In Altengrad, I'm obviously using different buildings, but pretty much doing the same thing, right? I'm also using those like 19th century buildings there to create as many blocks as I can, because ultimately it's going to be the quantity of the buildings that's going to make the feel of the city much more real, let's say, or, well, definitely better, right? So that's pretty much the same approach that I chose for Aurelia as well. And this is something that I did in the previous episodes, like, years back with Aurelia. When we first started it, I also mentioned that if I'm ever going to finish this city, I will have to do some less detailed expansions, here and there. And this is exactly the place where that is needed. So I'm trying to use the Rico buildings only in these places, because I really do like how I can just work with some of these like large footprint buildings, because it's just much easier. Obviously, it's faster because the buildings are big, so you don't really need to place that many of them to fill large areas. And some of these buildings are just so easy to work with, especially these office buildings. They are nothing special, really. They are just like blocks of something, generic looking offices, but that's exactly what these places need. So I'm using them quite generously, especially around the highways, just to fill all these places in here. I'm making sure that I'm also using the spaces underneath the roads, because that's going to look very, very good. I'm not keeping any of these places open. If I'm going to have some open spaces, then it's going to be intentionally done. So, for example, for parks or some like forested areas or something like that. But every inch of space in these high density blocks, I'm definitely going to fill, right? So that's exactly what I'm doing in here. You can see that in the center of this area, I built like a very small, boring looking roundabout right now, but don't worry, we are going to see more of it, because I am going to detail it. I am actually going to treat it with the intersection marking tool, but this is now more important. This building, I wanted to just browse through some of the unique buildings that I have that are not necessarily Rico, and I found this gem that I had probably for a very long time, but I haven't used it yet. And this building perfectly fits the public transport hub that we built last time. If you remember last time, we kept one side of the transport hub completely open I didn't even focus on it in the cinematics too much, but I wanted to just place that building over there. I think it's like a hotel building. That's not really important. I turned it off anyway because I don't really want I don't really want tourists to just use that place, but it's basically like a decoration there, but it's looking very, very, very good. It's I first wanted to just put it in some of these blocks, but it was just so unique that I thought it deserves kind of an open space in front of it. Anyway, we are now returning to this roundabout, and this is exactly what I was talking about. We are going to slightly change it. We are going to make it much, much better. So in the last episode with the public transport hub, I also did bus stops because, like I said, this place is going to be big. It's not going to have trams going absolutely everywhere, which means that the places that are not going to be serviced by trains, trams, or light rail are going to be going to be served by the bus lines. So this place, it's going to be, you know, quite a lot of people are going to be living in here, and in order to make them use the public transport, to just move them closer to the faster means of transportation, I'm going to provide this bus line. And in this particular place, I wanted to use this roundabout in combination with the bus line. So what I'm doing in here is basically a 2-lane roundabout with 1 lane dedicated only for buses. That's going to be the red line. And I didn't really have like a one-way road with the red lane and the normal lane for cars. So I improvised a little and I just used the normal road. I don't think that this is a vanilla road. I'm not exactly sure. I think this is from the workshop road, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that it's just a symmetrical 2-way road. But in here, I'm using detailing to basically get rid of 1/2 of the road. So in this place, I'm using the procedural object circle to exactly create a circular shape, because when I used the node controller on some of these nodes, it kind of distorted the shape very, very slightly, but you know, it was kind of noticeable, so I had to use the procedural objects to just fiddle with it and do it just right. And then I used this grass curb to create the outline, and obviously the grass curb is going towards the middle of the road, and I'm using the traffic manager lane connectors in here to make sure that people are not going to use the second half of the road, which is now hidden, right? And later, probably very, very soon, I'm going to do the intersection marking tool, and I'm going to actually make sure that this roundabout is going to look very, very good. I also made sure that I'm going to ban all the traffic from the hidden part. It's not exactly necessary. I was just worried that maybe some service vehicles like police cars or ambulances might actually go over the grass. So I just made sure to completely block it. And now finally for the detailing. So the roundabout is not really going to allow the buses to go around it or like through it, completely through it. It's only intended for the buses so that the buses can go basically straight through, right? That is why I'm not really doing the red stripes, or sorry, the red lanes. I'm not really going to connect them through these stripes that I already positioned over here. So this first corner that I did was kind of an experiment. So this took me, you know, some moderate amount of time, I guess, to first get it right. By the way, I'm always I'm forgetting to put the crosswalks before I start doing the actual detailing. That's something that you need to remember every time you're doing some of these intersection markings. Always start with the crosswalk, right? Because you have to redo everything if you do the crosswalk. Or maybe you are fine with the lines going through the crosswalks, I'm not sure. Also, matching the color with the texture of that red lane was kind of difficult. I finally went with just taking a screenshot of the game, opening it in MS Paint, and using the color tool, something that you can click and it's going to display the RGB values for the color where you clicked, right? So that's what I did in here. It's not exactly perfect because the lane doesn't have like a one color on it, right? It's just like a texture with different tones of red. So it's not looking perfectly. And yeah, by the way, the crosswalks again, you can see that. So the red is not matching perfectly, but if you zoom slightly away, then it's perfectly fine. It's hardly noticeable. Yeah, the crosswalks. Like I said, always start with the crosswalks. By the way, I'm pretty sure that in some future episodes that I already built for, I also forgot the crosswalks. So I'm doing it all the time. It's definitely something that I need to pay more attention to. So this is now clearer how the bus line is going to go through this place. By the way, this intersection I'm also going to treat with, no, actually this transition I'm going to treat with the marking tool, as you can see here, because the buses, they need to turn left, but obviously the red lane is on the right side of the road. So it would kind of it wouldn't work exactly with the intersection. So I decided to do a transition into this asymmetrical road and then just do the intersection marking tools for that little transition. And I'm even going to do these intersections in here. This is actually going to be very, very fast detailing. And again, I forgot the crosswalk in here, but this is just going to be a straightforward continuation of the red lane, nothing more. Yeah, the crosswalks. In this particular place, it might have actually been just fine leaving the crosswalks, with the textures underneath them, but I kind of wanted to have a bit cleaner look, so this is just much better. And these kinds of intersections are looking actually very, very nice, right? I'm really liking this continuation of the red lanes over the intersections. That's especially something that I really struggled with. That was actually the reason why I was not really using many of these dedicated bus lanes, because there were always these gaps in the patterns in the intersections, and that was something that was always bothering me. But now that we have the intersection marking tools, that's no longer a problem. So that's just absolutely perfect, right? Anyway, doing this detailing with the bus stops, I'm doing the bus stops on the roundabout, like directly on the roundabout, which is just, creating something interesting. It's not really going to block any traffic because obviously we have the dedicated lanes for the buses, so it's perfectly fine. And I'm not sure if I showed it in the previous shots, but you can actually see that I dedicated one of these blocks right next to the roundabout to a park that I'm going to build right now. It would have been, kind of crowded, closed off. The roundabout would have the residential buildings on all sides of it. I didn't really like that all that much, so I just opened up one of these blocks and made it into a park. All of these blocks around this place are kind of messy. They don't follow any single style. There's just there are many of these different buildings just clipped together, and it's creating a very non-uniform looking area. That's kind of what I was aiming for, actually, because I am going to build some more orderly areas around this place, and I really wanted to have the contrast in here. So I think that this is going to serve very, very well. Like this place not having like a uniform style and all these kinds of different buildings. But I obviously don't want them to be completely messy or completely chaotic. So I kind of wanted to provide at least some order into these blocks. So that's why I, for example, did the detailing with the roundabout to at least have some nice element in these blocks, and to have some kind of a focusing point of the episode, right? Even though that's probably this tram stop that I finally returned to. So what are we doing in here? We are making this place functional, of course. So I'm putting a lot of these pedestrian paths. I'm pretty sure that I'm not even showing all of the connections in here that I built. I'm also trying to use the various buildings around this place so that people can walk through them towards the different levels. Because realistically, that's, how it would be, I guess. People would go through these buildings. Maybe these buildings are like shopping malls with, some corridors, like wide corridors in them for exactly people going between these different levels to the tram stop or something like that. Not really the residential building, but all these other buildings around it are going to have those paths. Making sure that everything works, I actually struggled to put people towards the light rail stop, because there is the road directly underneath the stop, and some of the pedestrian connections just really didn't want to stick to this level. They always wanted to stick to the bottom level for the road, but eventually I managed to just make it work. And as you can see, a lot of people are walking towards this place, so that's perfectly fine. doing just some last detailing, just putting some trees and flowers in these places just to break apart these large surfaces where I did the gravel. And that's it. So again, the before and after shot. As you can see, we did some, serious expansion of this area. It's not really super visible from this angle, but I'm just trying to use the same angle for this district so that we can have the comparison. Next time, we are going to continue with this. We are actually going to continue with those high-rise buildings that are right now on the left, the alone towers. We are going to expand that area quite a lot and do some terraforming around it, and even continue with some of these messy blocks as well, right? So, like I said, I kind of want to do some quantity expansion in these places, but I also want to do some different projects as well. So anyway, these are the finished results of this place. As you can see, it turned out looking really good. This place especially, I really like it because of all the tall buildings around it and how the light rail just fits nicely between that. That building that has the cutout on the level of the light rail stop, that's something that I already used in the city pretty much for exactly these kinds of purposes, to have like a place for people down below the building, so the building kind of overlaps that upper level. That's actually looking very, very good. I like it very, very much. All right, so this is the roundabout that I was talking about. The buses are very busy. People definitely want to use the public transport quite a lot. Anyway, that is all for today's episode. Thank you for watching it. I hope you liked it. If you did, then you can put a thumbs up underneath it, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Stay tuned for next episodes, and I will see you next time. Take care and goodbye.